Lucas and Emily have divorced a week later. William filed for divorce with me. Everyone sympathized with me and felt sorry for me. Little did they know, this divorce was something I had long planned. William was unfaithful to our marriage, but he refused to admit it until our divorce was finalized. He thought of himself as devoted and loyal, just not to me. I met William in our freshman year, fell in love in our sophomore year, and we got married a year after graduation. Our relationship wasn't filled with grand gestures or dramatic moments, but this quiet, peaceful life was what I cherished. We went from school uniforms to wedding gowns, and I thought we would grow old together. However, reality dealt me a harsh blow. That day was February 14th, Valentine's Day. I'm not a particularly romantic person and have never cared much about holidays or anniversaries, but William always prepared little surprises and gifts for me. It was our third Valentine's Day since we got married. William had been busy all day. He woke up early and didn't return for almost 2 hours. He came back with a lot of groceries and a bouquet of roses. "Happy Valentine's Day, my wife," he said. He cooked lunch for us, making steak and soup, creating a fusion meal. After we finished eating, he suggested we go see a movie. I didn't want to go. I thought what we had was enough. Besides, it was a Saturday and there would surely be a crowd. "Where can we buy tickets today?" "Let's just watch a movie at home," I said. He stepped closer and hugged me, pulling 2 tickets out of his pocket. "I bought them early. It's Valentine's Day. We have to go out and feel the festive atmosphere." I was surprised. "So, that's why you went out so early?" William kissed me and raised an eyebrow. "Aren't I great?" I turned to hug him back. "You're amazing." William loved to sleep in and could easily nap until the afternoon. I was puzzled why he had to get up so early to buy groceries. It turned out he went to pick up the tickets. Although I'm not into romance, I was moved in that moment. We drove to the cinema, bought popcorn and cola. Suddenly, his phone rang. It was Lucas. Lucas must have been asking what he was up to. He glanced at me with a smile and said, "It's Valentine's Day." Of course, I'm with my wife. What else would I be doing? Lucas seemed to say something that made him uncomfortable. I noticed his brow furrowing. Finally, he said, "Are you crazy? Wait for me. I'll be right there." William's expression was filled with conflict. He looked apologetic and said to me, "Honey, something came up with Lucas. I might not be able to go to the movies with you." "What happened?" I asked. William replied, "He wants to buy a house for Sophia." At that moment, I understood why William said Lucas was crazy. If it were me, I would have said the same thing. Lucas and William had grown up together, and so had Emily, who was Lucas's wife, and Sophia, his lover. I didn't know how to define Sophia and Lucas's relationship, as I didn't know much about the intricacies involved. However, through William's hints, I gathered that Sophia and Lucas were currently in a phase where their relationship was ambiguous and undefined. I had once asked William, what will happen to Emily if Lucas behaves this way? At that time, William was smoking and frowning. He said, "It's just that during this time, Emily is away and Lucas is just being reckless. Nothing will happen." Back then, I thought William was worried about Lucas doing something. It wasn't until later that I realized he was actually worried that Lucas might not do anything at all. William and his friends had started a company focusing on real estate sales. Lucas was calling to ask William for information on properties because he wanted to buy a house for Sophia. William thought Lucas was crazy and said he had to go and stop him. I was clear about the relationship dynamics between Lucas, William, and Emily, but since I was on the outside, I didn't want to get too involved. So I nodded. "It's okay. You go." William looked relieved and grateful. He kissed me. "Honey, I'll rush back as soon as I'm done." William hurriedly left, and I entered the cinema alone. Halfway through the movie, I received a message from William. "Hey, honey, are you done? Call me when you finish, and I'll come pick you up." "Are you done with your work?" "Yeah, I'm at the office. Just let me know when you're done, and I'll come get you." The cinema was filled with couples, and I found the movie a bit boring. I thought, I'll watch for another 10 minutes, and then I'll have William pick me up. 10 minutes passed quickly. Just as I was about to text William, another message from him arrived. "Honey, Emily is back, and I have to take her home. You can take a cab back after the movie." Although I had never doubted William and Emily's relationship, my heart sank when I saw that message. I felt very unhappy. No one can tolerate being stood up repeatedly. But this unhappiness was just a small scratch on the surface of our marriage and love. It didn't hurt too deeply. As long as I had 20 minutes, I could adjust myself. So, after watching the movie, I walked out of the cinema and took a cab to Ming Road. There's a roast duck restaurant there that William particularly enjoys. I wanted to buy some to take home. When he got back, we could have roast duck while watching a movie together. That kind of tranquility is what I love. However, there's a saying, no coincidence, no story. Because of this, there are so many accidents and tales. Ming Road is near Lucas and Emily's house. As soon as I got out of the car, I saw a familiar license plate. It was William's. I was just about to wave when the car drove into the community. I hurriedly followed inside. I thought, what a coincidence. We can go together to buy roast duck and then head home. My vision isn't great. I'm highly nearsighted. But I had just spent $2,300 on a new pair of glasses last week and made sure to clean them thoroughly before leaving the house. So, even from 10 meters away, I could see William clearly inside the car. The vehicle stopped in a parking spot. William was on the left, and Emily was on the right. Emily seemed to be asleep, and William was gazing down at her. His expression was gentle and tender, a depth of feeling I had never seen before. He raised his hand and gently brushed back the hair from Emily's forehead. Suddenly, his lips slowly pressed down and finally landed on Emily's forehead. What kind of kiss was that? Desire, restraint, cherishment, perhaps all of these combined. As a witness, what was I feeling? Sadness, pain, despair, none of those seemed to apply. I felt very calm, so calm that I even took out my phone, zoomed in, and recorded a short video. After that calmness came confusion. I felt lost. In college, even though Emily was not at the same university as us, we were in the same city. After William and I started dating, the first friend I met of his was Emily. Emily was beautiful, beautiful in a flamboyant, aggressive way that made people wary. The first time I saw her, my heart skipped a beat, but it was just a fleeting moment. As I got to know her, I quickly realized that Emily wasn't manipulative. She was carefree and lighthearted. In online terms, she was the quintessential dumb blonde. Plus, her interactions with William were measured and appropriate. Unless there was something important, they rarely communicated through WeChat or phone calls. Did William actually have feelings for Emily? This revelation made me shudder. Did Emily know? I returned home in a day, but this home, which I had painstakingly set up, gave me no sense of security. Instead, it made me anxious. Driven by this tension, I escaped. I grabbed a suitcase, packed a few clothes, and fled as if I were the one who had made a mistake. I needed some peace. I needed time and space to sort everything out. During this process, I didn't want to see William. I sent William a message telling him I had to go on a business trip unexpectedly and then turned off my phone. I wasn't lying. I had planned to go to a hotel to cool off, but just as I stepped out, I received a call from my boss. He said there was a problem with the project in Linshire, and I needed to rush over to handle it. I'm an architectural designer, and the Linshire project was a village renovation project for which I had designed the blueprints. Honestly, I didn't like this project very much because the client was unprofessional. The only engineer in their project department was nearly 70 years old, a retired worker they had rehired. He didn't even know how to open AutoCAD to view the plans. We wasted a lot of time on basic issues from the start. But there was no choice. The client pays the bills, and they were prompt with payments. Since I had to work, I couldn't turn off my phone. After getting off the high-speed train, I opened my phone, and William's messages immediately flooded in. He asked what had happened, where I was, and when I would be back. I didn't reply, but instead called Matt directly. Matt was the driver for the project department. He usually picked me up and dropped me off. Although he was just a driver, even the general manager of the project department had to give him some respect. It was said that he was the son of a shareholder, which was why he was there to refine his character and supervise the work. In my opinion, he had a great personality, easygoing, diligent, and responsible. He didn't seem like a spoiled rich kid at all. Elizabeth, over here, he was already waving at me from a distance. I walked over, and he smiled, saying, "Elizabeth, I'm sorry to trouble you again." "No problem, it's my duty." Once in the car, I asked him what the issue was. Matt shrugged. "I don't know." "Well, they said something about the mentions being wrong, something like 1.8 and 2.0. It gave me a headache." I chuckled. "Didn't you say before that you wanted to take the builder's exam?" Matt looked like he was facing a daunting challenge. "Forget it. I won't take it. That stuff is like a foreign language. Spare me. I want to live a few more years. You just need to calm down and study." "It's not that hard," I said. Matt shook his head vigorously. "I'm just not cut out for studying." Soon, we arrived at the project department. After a brief rest, I started discussing the blueprints with Will. I noticed that he had the original version of the plans, while I had made revisions based on the actual situation and project progress, and sent those updates via email. Clearly, they hadn't printed them out. I raised my concerns to Will. Wearing reading glasses, Will looked helpless. "Nick thinks printing the blueprints is too expensive and said it's fine to just look at them on the computer." I was at a loss for words. How expensive could it possibly be? They had taken on projects worth millions and now were nitpicking over a printing fee of $100 or so. "This must be printed. Even if it's just to comply with inspections and for archiving purposes, it needs to be printed," I insisted. Will looked at me and nodded. "I'll mention it to Nick later." Nick wasn't a professional either. He was the brother-in-law of another shareholder and had quite an arrogant and sycophantic demeanor. However, he was relatively polite to me. The rest wasn't really within my control. Just then, there was a loud bang from downstairs. Will and I leaned out to see Matt smashing a car window with a fire extinguisher. The car belonged to Nick. "What the heck is going on?" Will rushed downstairs, and I quickly followed. Will grabbed Matt. "What are you doing?" "Stop it." Matt threw the fire extinguisher aside, yelling, "Damn you, Wong. Get out here." Seeing Matt being restrained, Nick finally emerged from the car, fuming with anger. "Matt, are you crazy? What the hell is wrong with you? Do you believe I'll tell your dad?" Matt broke free from Will and kicked Nick hard. He glared at Nick. "If you have the guts, go ahead and report me." Suddenly, Matt looked at me. "Elizabeth, Grace is in the passenger seat. Can you bring her out?" My heart skipped a beat as I looked at Nick's changing expression. I suddenly realized something. Without hesitation, I rushed to the passenger side. I opened the door, and Grace was curled up in her seat, shivering and disheveled. She looked at me with trembling, terrified eyes. My heart ached. I quickly took off my jacket and wrapped it around her. "Let's go to the hotel," I said. Grace was inside taking a shower. Matt and I waited outside with a cigarette in his mouth. Matt looked completely different from the way he usually held a lollipop. He said, "Elizabeth, how can they bully people like this?" Grace was in the passenger seat. "Can you bring her out?" Grace was the project department's accountant, a girl who had just graduated from college. She was also well-connected, being the daughter of a friend of one of the shareholders. However, her connections didn't help her. She was helping others, but in this project department located in a remote area with not many financial matters to handle, no experienced accountant was willing to work here. So, they found Grace, who gladly accepted. Although the pay was low and the location was isolated, for her, a fresh graduate entering the workforce, this job was quite valuable. Matt said, "She has the lowest salary in the entire project department. Even the cooking auntie earns more than her. But she works the hardest, serving tea, cleaning, it's all her. Silly girl, she just does whatever others tell her to do. And now look, she's been bullied. What a waste." Matt's tone was filled with disappointment. I replied, "She's already very capable. Grace is a very innocent girl, but she's not foolish." Although she hadn't been assaulted to the very end, when I asked her if she wanted to report it to the police, she nodded resolutely. "Why isn't she out yet?" Matt said worriedly. I stood up and said, "I'll go check on her in the bathroom." Grace was curled up in the bathtub, her skin already showing red streaks from scrubbing. Her eyes were vacant, and she murmured to me, "I always regarded him as an elder." Matt bought a lot of alcohol and kept pouring it into Grace until she was drunk. "All right, let her get a good night's sleep," he said, then stood up and left. I had also drunk quite a bit, but I couldn't fall asleep at all. So much had happened that day, and my previously fluctuating emotions settled into calm. After experiencing all of this, I also knew what I needed to do. Due to police involvement, the situation in the project department escalated. Several shareholders were rushing over. Matt sent Grace and me to the train station. He told Grace, "You go back and rest. I'll handle things here." Then he turned to me and said, "Sister, please take care of her on the way." On the way back, Grace looked dazed and silent. I handed her a bottle of water and didn't disturb her further. Since everything happened so suddenly yesterday, I hadn't brought my phone or bag when I left with Grace. William had called me many times and later Will answered, telling him that I had left my phone behind. After getting my phone back, I called him. He urgently asked me what was going on and what had happened. His tone was filled with the usual concern. I told him I would be going back today, but he said he would come to the train station to pick me up. I refused. Before seeing him, I had other things to take care of. When we arrived at the station, I asked Grace if she needed me to see her off. Grace shook her head and declined, saying she was fine. I left my phone number with her, reminding her to call me if she needed anything. After parting ways with Grace, I sent a message to Emily. "Do you have time?" Emily and I didn't even have each other's phone numbers. Apart from gatherings with mutual friends, we had never met privately. Emily responded to my invitation enthusiastically, and we agreed to meet at a Western restaurant. When I arrived, she was already sitting there, waving happily at me. "Elizabeth, over here." I sat down in front of her, and she handed me a glass of lemonade. I took a sip to wet my throat. Facing her curious gaze, I asked, "Do you know that William likes you?" Emily looked at me in surprise. Her expression didn't seem fake. If she wasn't just a great actress, then she probably really didn't know. She said, "How could that be? What nonsense are you talking about? I have nothing to do with William. Did something happen?" "I swear, there's absolutely nothing between William and me." I pulled out my phone, found the video I recorded, and handed it to her. The video was stable, clearly showing William kissing Emily. Emily's face turned pale. She instinctively raised her hand to wipe her forehead and stammered, "How could he?" "I don't know. I had no idea. How could this happen?" "William, me?" "No, I don't know." She reached for her phone, but I grabbed her hand as she tried to call William. I said, "I want a divorce from William. Can you help me?" She stared at me, shocked. I continued, "If you help me, I'll help you." Emily looked at me, puzzled. I tightened my grip on her hand and said, "Lucas is cheating." Emily froze for a moment, then abruptly pulled her hand back. Her tone was sharp as she said, "Impossible. Don't say such nonsense. Anyone in the world could cheat, but Lucas would never do that. We only have each other from start to finish. We are each other's one and only." I felt a little disoriented. Those words sounded so familiar. I seemed to have heard them before. Oh, right. It was the day William and I moved into our new home. They all came to help. After finishing up, we went out for a meal together. At the dinner table, for some reason, the topic of first loves came up. The men teased and joked with each other, making light-hearted banter. Emily interjected, "We're different. Lucas and I have only had each other from the beginning. We are each other's one and only." She had her arm around Lucas's, looking determined and happy as she asked, "Right?" Lucas nodded in response. "Yes, only our sister Emily. No one else." Seeing Emily's slightly pale complexion, my heart softened. "Right, I was just joking. I suddenly realized that William likes you, and I took it out on you. I'm sorry." I stood up, wanting to leave. Emily grabbed my arm and asked, "Who is it?" Men's logic is strange, just like William's. He knows what he does will upset me, but his choice isn't to refrain from doing it. Instead, he does it and hides it from me. Even when I find out and question him, he can boldly respond, "I knew you'd be angry, so I didn't tell you." But they don't realize that a woman's intuition is incredibly accurate. Many times, it's not that we don't know, it's just that we are deceiving ourselves and unwilling to delve deeper. Just like Emily does. She really doesn't notice Lucas's abnormalities at all. From her reaction now, it's clear that she does. I told her it was a woman named Sophia. Emily looked at me in disbelief. That name seemed even harder for her to accept than Lucas cheating. Tears streamed down her face uncontrollably as she murmured, "How could he do this?" Her words made me unable to stop curling my tongue and pressing it against my back molars, as if that could help me withstand the pain rising from within. Emily left, saying she had a performance in Yunnan. I heard this from William. I said nothing in response. After Emily left, Lucas became even more unrestrained. Already starting to go in and out with Sophia, Lucas often called William out in the past. William would refuse 3 out of 5 times, but now he was always there when called. At first, I would go along with him, but when I once took out my phone to capture a picture of Lucas hugging Sophia, I found that William was already one step ahead of me. He was collecting evidence of Lucas's infidelity. For whom was he gathering it? The answer was obvious. Since then, I had never gone out with William again. A week passed like this. Suddenly, one day, William persistently begged me to accompany him to Happy Valley. In the past, I didn't like Happy Valley. Now, after discovering William's feelings for Emily, I even detested Happy Valley. I'm afraid of heights and car sickness, not to mention roller coasters. Even the pirate ship is a nightmare for me. I still remember the first time I went to Happy Valley with William. It was also with a group of friends. I only managed to endure one ride before I couldn't take it anymore. For the rest of the time, I was just a bag carrier. Later, we went to the roller coaster. I was unwilling to get on, but one of William's friends teased, "William loves roller coasters the most. It seems you two can't play together." He may have spoken without thinking, but I took it to heart. At that time, William and I had just started dating, and our feelings were strong. I wanted to have common topics with him, to share hobbies. I even had an impulsive thought that I would do anything for him. In the end, I got on the roller coaster. It was the most terrifying experience of my life so far. I felt like death itself was beckoning me. Snapping back to reality from my memories, I shook my head and said, "I'm not going." William continued to persuade me. It was too unusual. Not to mention recently, he had never acted this way before. When I said I wouldn't go, he never insisted. Something was off. In the end, I still agreed. Lucas drove an SUV with Sophia in the passenger seat, while William and I sat in the back. William wanted to hold my hand, but I refused. He looked at me in confusion but didn't dwell on it. They chatted and laughed, while I stared out the window. However, Sophia clearly didn't want to let me off the hook. She turned around and asked, "Elizabeth, why haven't you been coming out to play with us lately?" I replied, "Busy." She wasn't deterred by my indifference and said, "Oh, you're all such high achievers. Lucas and I are just high school graduates." She continued, "Teach me English. I'm afraid I won't be able to teach my kids in the future." I suddenly turned to her and said, "Are you pregnant?" Perhaps my gaze was too fierce. Sophia shuddered under my stare, freezing in place. William jumped in, laughing. Lucas withdrew his right hand from Sophia's grip and placed it on the steering wheel. He said in a rather unfriendly tone, "Stop talking nonsense." Sophia quickly responded, "Oh, what are you all talking about?" I meant in the future. Lucas and I are completely innocent. Don't slander me. I smiled. At this point, I couldn't even face the words completely innocent. They were having a great time. I found an ice cream shop to sit down in, signaling them to ignore me. William didn't pay attention and stubbornly pulled me along. It seemed my role wasn't to play. Sitting in the ice cream shop, I looked at the photos Emily sent me. They were of her on stage. I only knew she was an opera singer, but had never seen her perform. Seeing her for the first time, I was struck by her appearance. Compared to her usual self, she seemed so elevated at that moment. I said, "You look great." She replied, "When everything is over, come watch my performance." I said, "Okay." The day's activities ended with the last group photo. When I got home, I finally understood William's intention. He sent me the photos from our outing, including that group photo. He said, "Don't you women like posting on social media? I think these photos are nice. You can post them for fun." It was quite ridiculous. During my time with William, not even when we got married had I posted anything on social media. And now, to break this unspoken tension, he was actually using me. He was getting more into this act. Noticing my unusual expression, William asked worriedly, "What's wrong?" I stared directly at him. He gradually felt guilty under my gaze. After struggling for a while, he said, "I was just saying that if you don't want to post, then forget it." I shifted my gaze. "Post it. They look nice." "I haven't posted anything in a long time." Out of the corner of my eye, I saw his hands relax at his sides. "I'm going out for a smoke." I posted the pictures on social media without adding a single word. Even one extra word felt like a waste. I messaged Emily, "Check my social media. After you've seen it, you can contact William." "Did he ask you to post it?" "Yeah, I got it." 2 minutes later, Emily sent me a voice message. She said, "Elizabeth, I'm so sad." I heard her crying. Even though she already knew the truth, she was still hurt upon seeing concrete evidence. A minute later, William's phone rang. 5 minutes later, William hurriedly walked in. He said urgently, "Honey, I have to go on a business trip. I'll be back the day after tomorrow." William left. I told Emily, "William has already left." Emily asked me, "Why do you want me to do this?" I hoped Emily could keep William hanging. I wanted Emily to make William feel that she could accept him. I hoped everything Emily was doing would prompt William to propose a divorce to me. Because I was timid, cowardly, and weak, I had never been a confident and assertive person in my relationship. I had always been pulled along by William. I was the one who liked William first, but I didn't even have the courage to confess. Later, it was William who actively pursued me. I know that if he doesn't take the initiative, we won't be together. I remember when we had only been together for 2 months, one time William jokingly asked me, "What would you do if we broke up?" He was just saying it casually, but I took it seriously and even lost sleep over it. By the next day, I was feeling down. William quickly noticed something was off and asked me what was wrong. After some prodding, I told him the truth. He was speechless. "I was just joking. Why did you take it to heart?" He went on to say some other things, but I can't quite remember the details. It turned into an unpleasant situation. Finally, William, in anger, said, "Are you done? If you keep this up, we'll break up." This was my first relationship and my first experience with a breakup. I thought saying those 2 words meant we were really breaking up. I was in pain, so sad that I buried myself under the covers and cried. But at the same time, I withdrew into my shell. I didn't try to reconcile, nor did I plead. I was even considering how to avoid William after a breakup. But 2 days later, William came to find me. He apologized and promised never to mention breaking up again. Just like that, we reconciled. Later on, it was he who suggested moving in together, meeting parents, and getting married. I didn't examine my own desires or analyze what was right or wrong. I just followed his lead step by step. This was love. What about hatred? It was the same during our relationship. We had plenty of arguments and countless hysterical moments. He didn't keep his promise of no longer mentioning breaking up. Every time he brought it up, I still treated it as a real breakup. However, as soon as he showed any weakness, apologized, or asked me back, I would return to his side. This time, I really wanted to leave, but I was scared. I was afraid my willpower wasn't strong enough. I was afraid I would waver again because of his few words. I was scared I would be pulled along into an endless abyss by him. I feared he would turn over a new leaf. I needed him to remain resolute in his path. Only if he was firm could we divorce quickly and peacefully, because I was timid, cowardly, and weak. My name is Emily, and my partner is Lucas. He has been my childhood friend, promising to grow old with me and spend our lives together. I believed him, but he broke his promise. Lucas and I met in middle school. We were in the same class, and he sat behind me. He was a super annoying brat who always liked to pull my hair, kick my chair, and poke my back. Every time he did these little things, I would jot it down in my diary. Later, when we got together, I asked him, "Why did you always bully me in middle school?" He looked at me helplessly and said, "Was that bullying? I just wanted you to turn around and look at me." I couldn't help but laugh. It turned out that was his childish way of showing affection. We started dating in high school. At that time, the school prohibited early relationships, but that didn't stop the rapid development of our relationship. Lucas treated me very well. Every morning, he would wake up 15 minutes early to walk to my building and wait for me. Then we would go to school together. He always carried a boiled egg in his pocket, the most nutritious food he had all day, which he would give to me to eat. I had once refused it, and he looked disappointed. He said, "I'm sorry, I can't give you anything else." I felt a pain in my heart, but it also warmed me. The person I love loves me back. He promised, "I will give you the best in the future." Lucas came from a difficult family background. His parents divorced and remarried, neither wanting him. He was raised by his half-sister, living under someone else's roof. He experienced the ups and downs of life. He was very poor, so poor that he had to save up for a whole day's worth of meals just to buy me a box of pure milk. I didn't need him to do that for me, but I knew this was the true heart he presented to me, and I had to guard it carefully. In middle school, he did well academically, but his grades plummeted in high school. I was very anxious. I cried and asked him, "What are we going to do? What if we can't go to the same university?" He looked upset and said he was someone who didn't qualify for college. He said it wasn't something he could afford. I said we could apply for student loans and work part-time. As long as we were together, we could overcome anything. He shook his head in refusal. Later, he didn't go to college. He entered society and started working. I didn't know what exactly he was doing. He never told me, but I knew he was tired. At the same time, he made money quickly, which made me anxious and scared. Where in the world do opportunities fall from the sky? He smiled and reassured me. "What are you thinking? I'm not doing anything illegal. I still want to be with you, Emily, until we grow old together." He said he had just encountered an opportunity and made a quick fortune but wouldn't do it again. He finally stabilized himself, opened a small company, and started doing honest business. As his career stabilized, he bought a car and a house. From being an unnoticed minor character, he became someone his peers could only look up to. Our relationship also improved significantly. After 7 years of dating, we had our arguments and conflicts, but even when we were furious, we never said the word breakup. I think the so-called true love online is probably just like ours. After I graduated, he proposed to me. It was a grand proposal scene. He walked toward me in a crisp suit, his face solemn but his hands trembling. He knelt down on one knee in front of me and said, "Emily, will you marry me?" I nodded, and he hugged me excitedly. Tears dripped onto my neck as he said, "I finally have a home." We received our marriage certificate on May 27th. He said, "I don't want 520, I want 527. 527, I love my wife. Lucas doesn't love me? Impossible. But Lucas cheated." When Elizabeth told me this, I refused to believe it. We had known each other for 13 years, dated for 7, and been married for 3. Lucas would never betray me. Lucas cannot betray me. But deep down, there was a voice telling me she was speaking the truth. I knew Lucas too well. I was familiar with his every action and mannerism. I even understood what a raised eyebrow meant. I knew he had been distant during this time. Although he feigned enthusiasm in our chats and conversations, I could sense his indifference. It was a coldness that came from deep within, preventing me from showing it on the surface, but buried itself deep in my heart. So, he had indeed cheated. How can I describe my feelings? It felt like a massive stone had pressed down on me. Its weight wasn't enough to crush me, but I was struggling to hold it up with my hands. I gritted my teeth and fought hard, yet every limb in my body trembled. I asked Elizabeth who his cheating partner was. Elizabeth replied, "Sophia." Sophia? How ironic. Sophia attended the same high school as us. She was a beautiful girl and our school's flower. She cared a lot about that title. I, however, scoffed at it. I asked myself if I was good-looking enough. If I wanted to be, I could have been the school's flower. I just wasn't interested in that. At that time, I was only focused on dating and studying. But Sophia treated me as her mortal enemy. She always mocked me, both overtly and subtly. I never took it to heart. Sometimes watching her bounce around was quite amusing. But she shouldn't have mocked Lucas. She ridiculed Lucas for being poor and laughed at him for trying to reach higher social circles. She said to me, "Dating someone like Lucas, it seems you're not a good person either." Those words struck a nerve with me. I went up and grabbed her hair, and we started fighting. My neck was scratched by her, and I pulled out a chunk of her hair. Although in the end, there were warnings and written self-reflections, I didn't regret it at all. Instead, Lucas tenderly applied medicine on my wounds. He said, "Why bother with someone like Sophia? Let her say what she wants. We'll just treat it like a dog barking." I said, "It's fine if she says things about me, but she can't say anything about you." For him, I fought like a warrior against a wicked dragon. But in the end, he ended up with that dragon. What am I? A joke. Elizabeth said it's very likely they haven't gone all the way yet. If you want to salvage this, there's still a chance. I asked her, "And you? Why don't you try to salvage it?" She shook her head and said, "William is just someone I happen to know, not the only one." How ironic. Someone who has only met me a few times knows that Lucas is my only one, yet my only one betrayed me. I returned home in a day. Lucas was not there. I called him, and he said he was at the office. I don't know if it was my imagination, but I seemed to hear a woman's voice on the phone. Unable to control myself, I rushed to his office. There was no Sophia. Lucas looked confused and stepped forward to hug me, but I instinctively backed away. Had he been with Sophia? How far had they gone? Would he hug Sophia the same way he hugged me? One question after another, one resentment after another, gnawed at my heart like a festering sore. The questions were on the verge of spilling out of my mouth, but then I suddenly remembered Elizabeth's words. She said Lucas might just be momentarily confused. As long as you try to win him back, he will definitely come back. No, I don't want him to come back. Lucas, since you made your choice, please follow it to the end this time. I won't pull you back. When I got home, I packed my things and prepared to leave. Lucas stopped me from leaving. He grabbed my clothes and threw them away. He yelled, "Are you leaving again? You're going to leave again? You've just been back for 2 days and you're going to leave again? Do you care?" I asked Lucas, and he was taken aback. Then he anxiously replied, "Do I not care? I call you every day and message you constantly, hoping you'll come back. But you, Emily, do you even treat this place like home?" I silently looked at Lucas. Because of my work, Lucas had complained to me many times. He hoped I would quit my current job or, at the very least, reduce my performances. He said it was time for us to have a child. A child of Lucas and me. I unexpectedly felt a sense of anticipation. Plus, our emotional distance had deepened recently, so I applied to the dance troupe to move to a behind-the-scenes role. I initially wanted to give Lucas a surprise, but didn't expect him to give me a shock first. He had done such things, so why could he still so boldly accuse me? Looking at the man I was so familiar with, I suddenly felt incredibly estranged. "If you care, where were you when I returned from France? You couldn't come to pick me up, but sent William instead. Am I your wife, or is he? What are you talking about?" Lucas shouted, frustrated. "Lucas, you say you miss me, but how have you treated me these past 2 days? You leave early and come back late. Do you really miss me, or are you avoiding me?" Lucas lowered his gaze in distress. What a familiar look. He felt guilty and doubtful. I pushed him away and continued packing my things. Lucas suddenly stepped forward and hugged me with a sincere and gentle tone. "Wife, I was wrong. It's all my fault. The company has been too busy these days. Don't leave. I'll definitely make time to be with you from today on. I won't go anywhere. I'll stay home and be with you. I have a severe cleanliness obsession. I can't stand my things being touched. Once they're touched, I have to throw them away." Now, as Lucas held me and rubbed his face against my neck, I could only feel my skin crawl. That chill rising from the depths of my heart made me push him away. "Don't touch me," I screamed. Lucas looked at me in confusion, embarrassment, and hurt. I thought I must look fierce at that moment, not elegant at all. My composure had vanished. Just as the atmosphere between us became heavy, a phone rang. Lucas took out his phone with a blank expression. He was silent for 2 seconds, then walked out of the room to answer the call. I instinctively wanted to move to snatch his phone to see who was calling, whether it was Sophia or another woman. But I desperately restrained myself. "No, don't go, Emily. You can't go. That would be too humiliating. Don't make yourself unreasonable and loathsome." Lucas took me to the airport. We were silent all the way. He escorted me inside. I walked forward quietly. Suddenly, I stopped in my tracks. When I turned around, I saw Lucas hurriedly leaving. During the week away from Lucas, I threw myself into the theater production. I canceled my previous application. In the midst of constant busyness, my mind found the greatest peace. During that week, my contact with Lucas dropped dramatically. If it were before, he definitely wouldn't be able to stand it. On the night I ignored him, he would rush to my side without stopping. But now everything had changed. Even though I knew the truth about Sophia and Lucas being together, I had never seen it myself. Maybe it was my own cowardice not daring to admit it. When I saw Sophia and Lucas arm in arm, leaning their heads together, appearing like a couple in Elizabeth's friend circle, an overwhelming pain surged into my heart. I considered myself strong enough, open-minded enough, and rational enough. It wasn't until this moment that I realized I was just like this. I told Elizabeth, "I'm so sad." Elizabeth replied, "It will all pass." William arrived at 3 in the morning. I saw the message he sent, but ignored him. He said, "Emily, I'm here. No matter what happens, I'll be by your side." If I didn't know how he felt about me, I would have been very touched. But now I just found it absurd. Elizabeth was William's first love, and he loved her deeply. That's the information I received as an outsider. Elizabeth likes spicy food, but her stomach isn't good. Every time we go out for hot pot together, William always controls her intake. When they go out, William always holds Elizabeth's hand as if afraid she might get lost. No matter what he's doing, if Elizabeth needs him, he will rush over immediately. Elizabeth has a reserved personality, so every time he takes her out, he always warns everyone to watch their words beforehand. He was particularly nervous when meeting Elizabeth's parents and asked everyone to help him choose gifts. Due to cultural differences, Elizabeth's parents didn't give him a red envelope, and he thought they were dissatisfied with him, which led him to get incredibly drunk once. When Elizabeth passed out from alcohol poisoning, he was shaking all over and couldn't even carry her downstairs. These are the little details I observed as an outsider. In ways I couldn't see, I felt that William cared more about Elizabeth. But someone like him could still harbor such feelings for others in his heart. Lucas was the same way. How could he profess to love me while holding someone else? Right now, both Lucas and William frighten me. Elizabeth hopes I can give William a little sweetness. She said it's not that she's confident in his feelings for her, it's just that now she wants to speculate about him with the utmost malice. Even if he likes you, and even if he wants to break you and Lucas apart, without 100% certainty, he might not necessarily divorce me. She said she doesn't want to waste any more energy arguing over who is right or wrong with him. She just wants a peaceful divorce, and only if he's willing can they divorce quickly. Elizabeth's words reminded me of a joke I saw online. I forgot the specifics, but the gist was that if a woman wants a divorce, it's likely she can't get one. If a man wants a divorce, it's likely he can't be reconciled with her. Once a man changes his heart, he is merciless. I saw William the next day. His eyes were filled with worry as he said, "Emily, I'm sorry." "Emily, I didn't used to find anything wrong with that title." Lucas and William are all the same age, but by month, William is the oldest, I am second, and Lucas is the youngest. Lucas always likes to call me Emily, and his buddies and friends also like to call me that. Among these people, only William calls me Emily. Was he harboring such thoughts? I couldn't help but feel a chill run down my spine. Suppressing my discomfort, I said to William, "I thought that even if Lucas would deceive me, you wouldn't." William looked at me eagerly and passionately, saying, "Emily, it's my fault. I was just afraid of hurting you." He spoke a lot to me, worried about me and caring for me, overstepping his bounds. I said, "William, I want a divorce. Will you help me?" William nodded and said, "Wait for me." William didn't linger long and left that afternoon. I recorded our conversation and sent it to Elizabeth, as she had requested. I thought she wanted to use this as evidence. Instead, she said, "I want to completely let go of him and not reminisce anymore." She said, "I'm an emotional person with a soft heart. I need to keep these things to remind myself constantly. Otherwise, I'm afraid I might compromise." I felt a little sad. Elizabeth is such a good-natured girl. When we first met, She was sitting quietly with a faint smile, calm in the face of praise or insult. Such a girl can be so harsh on herself. After William left, our communication gradually increased. He would message me, comforting me and caring for me, and I forwarded every word of his to Elizabeth without acceptance. Elizabeth would always remain silent for a long time, then remind me that it was time to reply to William. I didn't send much information back to William, but I revealed to him one piece of information. Now that Lucas has betrayed me, he is the only one by my side. His attitude was obviously enthusiastic, and he made promises to me. I will always be by your side. Elizabeth asked me to reply to him with 3 words, let's hope so. It felt absurd, as if the original partner was teaching the mistress how to seduce her husband. I cried and called Elizabeth, saying I don't want to do this anymore. I hate William, and I also hate Lucas. I want to confront Lucas and make William go away. Elizabeth said, okay. I fell silent again. Are you very sad? Elizabeth replied with a soft mm. I cried and asked Elizabeth, what are we doing? This is so absurd. Elizabeth said, how long do you think it takes to let go of a beloved person? I guess 27 days. From the day Elizabeth told me Lucas had cheated until today, it has been 27 days. William called me. He said, Lucas took Sophia to WI for a 3-day tonight trip. Emily, do you want to go? I knew the time had come. William was waiting for me at the airport. Once I got in the car, I couldn't help but ask him, you came to pick me up. What about Elizabeth? During my time with William, Elizabeth had never let me mention her. She said there's no need to provoke his worthless guilt. William was momentarily stunned, but it was only for a moment. He said, it's okay. She won't mind. So, don't take it to heart. He added, Emily, don't worry. I will always be by your side. I didn't reply, just silently gazed out the window. What happened next was chaotic. William brought me to the hotel room. I rang the doorbell. The door opened shortly after, revealing Lucas. His hair was half dry, and he was wearing a bathrobe. Seeing me, he looked stunned, followed by panic, helplessness, and embarrassment. Wife, he stepped forward as if to grab me. I screamed, don't touch me. Lucas seemed startled by my reaction and stood frozen. My hands were trembling. I pushed past him and rushed inside. On the large double bed lay Sophia, dressed in a lace dress, lounging casually. She clearly heard the commotion at the door but didn't shy away. Instead, she wore a victorious smirk as she said, Emily, long time no see. As soon as I stepped out of the elevator, I heard the sound of fists hitting flesh. Looking up, I saw Lucas gripping William by the collar, gritting his teeth as he said, William, you schemed against me. William didn't dodge. He took that punch squarely. He replied, I never intended to ruin your relationship, but you absolutely shouldn't be with Sophia. Lucas stared at William in shock. William, you disgust me. Then Lucas looked at me, and we exchanged calm glances until William noticed something was off. He turned to look at me, his gaze instinctively dodging, but the next moment, he studied himself. He looked at me like a warrior who had lost an arm, and I was that arm bitten by a venomous snake, potentially endangering his life. The silence was broken by Emily, who emerged with a pale face. Lucas looked at Emily in fear, like a condemned man awaiting judgment. But Emily didn't give him a single glance. Wife. Lucas's voice was filled with pleading. Emily raised her hand to stop him. Lucas, put some clothes on. This is just disgusting. Lucas's face instantly turned pale. He wanted to grab Emily but hesitated. He said nothing happened between them, that they didn't do anything. Emily shook her head. But I don't believe you. Lucas stood there, hunched and frozen. William took Emily and tried to leave. I blocked their way. William looked at me, his expression complicated. He opened his mouth but didn't say a word. I silently looked at him for 2 seconds before stepping aside to let them pass. William seemed taken aback by my response. He stared at me, filled with guilt and regret, and finally left with Emily without a word. I didn't return to Yunnan, but went straight home. What followed was the final morning of this relationship and marriage. Lucas didn't keep me waiting long. He returned an hour after I got home. When he saw me, he seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. Wife, I was flipping through the photos. William had sent me photos of Sophia and Lucas at a gathering with friends, looking like a couple. From these pictures, it seemed Lucas had introduced Sophia to all his friends. I recalled my interactions with those people. There were no loopholes, and not a single one tried to remind me. I didn't know whether to commend Lucas's friends for their loyalty or to lament my own pathetic situation. "Wife," Lucas called out to me again. Looking up at him, I said, "Lucas, let's get a divorce." Lucas instinctively leaned back, his body resisting my words. A twisted smile appeared at the corner of his mouth as he said, "Are you joking with me?" I stared straight at him. "Lucas, you cheated, so we have to divorce." Lucas shook his head desperately. "No, it's not what you think. I didn't do anything with Sophia. I didn't have a relationship with her. Please believe me. I swear I did nothing." I bit down hard on the soft flesh inside my lip until the metallic taste filled my mouth. I slammed my phone down in front of him. "Nothing happened? Then what are these kissing, holding hands, hugging photos? How do you say that?" Lucas looked in shock at the photo, sliding past him. He suddenly glared at me with fierce eyes. "Who gave you these photos? Was it William? Did William give them to you? Were you two in cahoots all along? Did you want to divorce me from the start? Do you like William?" I struck him hard across the face, causing my entire arm to tremble. I yelled, "Get out, Lucas! Get out!" "Wife." Lucas's voice was filled with fear and trepidation, and all I wanted was for him to disappear from my sight. I picked up the cup on the table and slammed it against the wall. "Get out." Lucas left. The sound of the door closing separated us into two different worlds. I had never cried so messily before. It took me 2 hours to gradually calm down. William sent me many messages saying, "Emily, I'm downstairs at your building. I will always be here for you." I ignored him and immediately contacted Elizabeth. Perhaps my voice was too hoarse. Elizabeth immediately sensed something was wrong. "Did you cry?" I let out a muffled, "Yeah." "Where are you?" I asked her. She replied, "WY." Elizabeth hadn't come back. I felt a bit panicked. She said, "It's pretty nice here. Consider it a vacation, since I've already taken leave." I fell silent. Elizabeth's calmness left me in a daze. Was it really 27 days to forget a loved one? Why could she manage it while I felt so miserable? When I realized this, I had already asked the question. Elizabeth said those 27 days were meant for me, for my 13 years. "It's okay to be sad. Your sadness means you're removing him from your heart. You'll be fine. Everything will be fine." My mood seemed to gradually settle. She continued, "Lucas left Sophia alone in WY and didn't take her back." I responded with a soft, "Yeah," as I expected. She asked, "How long until you can get a divorce?" I asked her how many days she had taken off. She replied, 3 days. I said, "Then it'll be 3 days." I knew Lucas too well. I knew his every move and thought process. Just like I knew he hadn't left but was standing outside the door, whether it was genuine or deliberate, he was trying to elicit my sympathy by playing the victim. But this time, sympathy wouldn't solve any problems. "Wife." In one night, he seemed to age a few years. His face looked haggard, yet eager to please as he looked at me. I said, "Lucas, we need to talk." Lucas resisted but eventually nodded. "Wife, you have to believe me. I really didn't have a relationship with Sophia. I admit I crossed a line, but it was just a moment of confusion." "So your moment of confusion lasted 4 months? You kissed, hugged, and held hands with Sophia. You took her to all your friend gatherings, traveled together, and let her sit in the passenger seat. You did everything couples do, and in the end, you tell me it was just a moment of confusion." I looked at him in disappointment. "Lucas, don't make me look down on you." Lucas's expression darkened. "I was wrong. I made a mistake, but I didn't sleep with her." "I didn't. What are you proud of?" "A loyal man." "Lucas, during our marriage, not sleeping with someone else is the bare minimum. Our 13 years together only require you not to have a relationship with others. What exactly are you so proud of?" Lucas shook his head in fear. "No, that's not what I meant. Lucas, someone like you doesn't deserve my affection." This sentence lingered in my mind a few times before I finally said it out loud. Lucas shivered, looking at me in disbelief. He instantly entered a defensive state, his tone sharp as he said, "So now even you think I don't deserve you?" I looked at him coldly and said word by word, "Do you deserve it?" Lucas suddenly stood up, his fists clenched tightly. "You're still not calm. Let's talk when you are." He turned to leave. I called after him, "If you don't agree to an amicable divorce, I will file for divorce." Lucas said, "I hope we don't have to go that far." After Lucas asked for some time to think, I couldn't reach him the next day. He took the most childish approach to solve this issue. He avoided it without hesitation. I went straight to his older sister, who was 21 years older than us, and a strong woman. She had divorced early and was living with her own son. When Lucas was left without support, she took him in without a second thought. She treated Lucas well but was cold to me, even opposing his desire to marry me. I knew the reason my parents strongly opposed my relationship with Lucas. They looked down on Lucas, believing that someone who didn't even attend college wasn't worthy of their precious daughter. I understood my parents' thoughts, but didn't accept them. Even when they threatened to sever ties with me, I resolutely chose to be with Lucas. My parents' opposition was a form of love for me, but to my sister, it was just a matter of practicality. She felt that my parents had this attitude simply because they thought Lucas wasn't wealthy enough. The reason I knew this was that I had accidentally overheard a conversation of hers. She said, "Whether it's the betrothal gift, the house, or the car, we can afford all of it, but I just don't like the way they seem to be selling their daughter. In any case, I do not agree with your marriage. If you insist on being with her, don't expect me to help you with your future children." Her dislike for me was even more apparent. Her cold attitude made me sad countless times, yet now she was the breakthrough for my divorce. I didn't hide anything and directly showed her the photos on my phone. Upon seeing them, her brows furrowed tightly. She said, "Are you sure you want a divorce?" I nodded yes. My sister was silent for a long time before finally saying, "Lucas has a project recently that involves working with the government. Working with the government requires a good reputation." I understood what my sister meant. Before I left, she called after me and said, "Emily, although I don't like you, I know you are a good girl. This time, Lucas was wrong, and I apologize to you on his behalf." I nodded as I left. I accepted this apology. The reason I sought out my sister was that I was confident she would help me get a divorce. Her own marriage had collapsed because of her husband's infidelity. Over the years, although I didn't know much about her, I knew she had zero tolerance for cheating. I knew she would help me. Sure enough, hours after meeting with my sister, Lucas returned. His eyes were bloodshot and swollen, with red handprint marks on his face. In a hoarse voice, he said, "Am I really that unforgivable?" I didn't understand. "Is there any meaning in saying this now?" Lucas grabbed my hand that I tried to break free but couldn't. He said urgently, "Wife, I was wrong. I'll change. I won't make the same mistake again. Can we not get a divorce?" I suddenly pushed him away. No. Lucas, don't touch me. I find you disgusting. I didn't have a relationship with her. Really, believe me." It was the same line again and again. "Lucas, you disgust me." Lucas's expression darkened. He said, "We've been together for 10 years. There's no one in this world who loves you more than I do. I just made a mistake. I didn't cross that final line. I didn't betray you. I'll change. I won't make the same mistake again. Why can't you give me another chance? Do you think the person you find in the future won't make this kind of mistake? Do you think someone else will treat you better than I do? No one will treat you better than I do." His tone was so certain, just like I once was. It felt ironic. I laughed. Maybe the person I find in the future will also make mistakes, perhaps even worse than yours. But I might forgive him, understand him, or even turn a blind eye. Do you know why? Because we've known each other for 13 years, dated for 7 years, and been married for 3 years. I have invested 100% of my feelings in you. I expect a return of the same amount. If you can't give me that, then I don't want it. In this world, I can forgive everyone else for cheating except for you. Because I once loved you so much. My divorce with Lucas was very calm. He gave me a house in my name and all his fixed assets. I originally wanted to proudly say I didn't want it, but then I thought, why not? I had lost love. Why should I refuse the compensation of money? After coming out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, Lucas asked me where I was going. "I'll drive you," he said. Someone is picking me up not far away. William was waiting there by the roadside. Lucas grabbed my hand and growled, "We just got divorced, and you want to be with him already?" I looked at Lucas coldly. "Let go. This is none of your business." Lucas slowly shook his head. "No, Emily, don't." I endured the pain and pulled my hand free. "Lucas, you deserve this." I turned and left. I had more important things to do. I called Elizabeth today. It was the 5th day since my husband disappeared, and I was waiting for him to find me for a divorce. I packed all his things from the house. There was a lot, 3 suitcases and a bunch of packages. The living room was crammed full, but the bedroom had a large, empty space. This house was under my name. It was my down payment, and William had been paying the mortgage since then. From what I knew of him, he wouldn't contest the house with me. First, he would want to end this marriage quickly. Second, he definitely wouldn't want to leave a calculating image in Emily's mind. As for everything else, we wouldn't discuss it. His feelings for me, after all, we had reached this point. Discussing feelings now felt a bit ironic. I was working when William returned. He called me and said, "Let's talk." Glancing at the time, if we moved quickly, we could go get the divorce certificate in the afternoon. We decided to talk at home. When I got home, William was already there. He looked at me with guilt on his face. "I'm sorry," he said. I nodded. "You really are sorry." He said, "Let's get a divorce." I replied, "Okay." He sat on the sofa dejectedly and said, "Elizabeth, I'm sorry for what I did to you, but I can't help it. I've liked Emily for 13 years, and I raised my hand to interrupt him. "William, you can divorce me. You can like someone else, but you can't bully others." William shook his head vigorously. I didn't. I cut him off. "Are you trying to tell me how deep and passionate your feelings for Emily are? Are you trying to say that true love is innocent? If I were a bystander, I might marvel at your deep and devoted feelings for Emily, but I'm the one involved, and I'm the one who got hurt. We dated for 3 years, we're married for 3 years, and now you want to tell me you've loved someone else all along. Don't you think you're being a bit unreasonable? William, no matter how great your love is, it doesn't cover up the fact that you cheated. William, if you're sorry for what you did to me, you should apologize, not hope I'll understand to lighten your guilt. Lightening your guilt has never been my responsibility." William's face turned pale. After a long pause, he said, "I'm sorry about the house." I nodded. "I'll be staying out tonight, so you'd better hurry up and move your things." William pressed his lips tightly together, staring at me as if trying to read something from my face: panic, deep pain, tears. Whatever it was, it would surely disappoint him. From the moment I decided to get a divorce, he was an outsider to me. In front of outsiders, I have my dignity. "Let's go." "Where to?" "To the Civil Affairs Bureau." After learning that Elizabeth got divorced, Emily quickly contacted her. She said, "Congratulations, Elizabeth." Elizabeth chuckled lightly. "Same to you. Want to go out for a drink?" "Sure." They initially planned to go to a bar, but reason prevailed, and they ended up buying a bunch of red, white, and yellow drinks and renting a room at a hotel. The night view from this hotel was beautiful. They sat by the window, surrounded by food and drinks. Emily said, "Elizabeth, thank you. Without you, my divorce would have been very ugly." Elizabeth took a big gulp of beer and said, "Then let's thank each other." It was strange. For 2 wives who thought they were in happy marriages, their husband's infidelity should have felt like the sky was falling. But because of each other's presence, they seemed to suddenly gain the strength to hold up the sky. At the same time, they also didn't feel as sad anymore. Elizabeth curiously asked Emily, "Would you take William back?" Emily shook her head repeatedly. "Of course not," she said. "Actually, I haven't seen him much these days. Most of the time, he's just been staring off into space." Emily knew that William didn't smoke much. He once said, "Elizabeth has asthma. As soon as she smells smoke, she coughs." I wouldn't dare smoke. But these days, he had been smoking constantly. Emily had been very busy lately packing, moving, selling the house, and handling her visa. William stubbornly insisted on accompanying her, but he was like a dutiful driver. He wouldn't ask Emily what she wanted to do. He would just drive her wherever she told him to go. Every time Emily returned from running errands, he would sit in the car, lost in thought. Emily could see his confusion and hesitation but chose to ignore it. William was not an emperor, and Emily and Elizabeth were not courtiers waiting for him to choose. Emily said, "I don't really think William likes me that much. Maybe it's just an obsession, and I've never had those feelings for him, nor will I ever develop them." Elizabeth replied with a and said, "That's good." Emily asked, "What about you? If he comes back to you, would you forgive him?" Elizabeth laughed lightly. "Am I crazy? I don't like people who would leave just because someone else beckons. A dog has a bit of loyalty. He's even worse than a dog." Emily chuckled. "This is the first time I've heard you say something so tough." She asked, "Will you date and get married again in the future?" Elizabeth nodded. "Of course. What kind of person do you want?" "I'll help you keep an eye out." Elizabeth downed her drink and said, "I want to find an honest person." Emily was speechless. An honest person means they won't take the blame for this. Elizabeth laughed as well. As they laughed, she sighed and said, "When I'm alone, I'm lazy. I don't like cooking or doing housework. I let my life become a mess, and I'm afraid of the dark, but can't sleep with the lights on. I just want someone to accompany me for 3 meals a day throughout the 4 seasons of the year in a simple and ordinary way." "Why is that so difficult?" Elizabeth shook her head and asked Emily, "What about you?" After a long pause, Emily glanced out the window and said, "I might find it hard to enter another marriage and relationship." Lucas, 13 years. "How many 13 years do we have in life? It's quite frightening." She said, "I'm going abroad." Elizabeth looked at her in surprise and said, "I once had the opportunity to go abroad, but turned it down because of Lucas. This time, I want to live wholeheartedly for myself." Emily raised the cup in her hand and said, "Cheers to tomorrow." Elizabeth nodded. Cheers to tomorrow. Epilogue. Lucas. Lucas is not worthy of Emily. This is a reality he realized from the day Lucas craved Emily. Emily was beautiful, gentle, accomplished, from a good family, and multi-talented. She could dance, do calligraphy, and play the pipa. She was the kind of person who would perform at the school's cultural events. I remember an essay we had in high school called Pipa Song. The Chinese teacher wanted everyone to appreciate the charm of the big strings sounding like heavy rain, the small strings soft as whispers, the sounds intertwining like big and small pearls dropping on a jade plate. So she had Emily bring her pipa to the classroom. On the podium, she lowered her head and plucked the strings. Each note struck a chord in Lucas's heart. Lucas thought how lucky he was to be liked by her. Lucas thought how could he possibly be worthy of her. Lucas loved Emily deeply, but this love felt like a burden to him, especially when her parents openly opposed their relationship. They said, "You haven't even gone to college. Why do you think you're worthy of Emily? You attend every one of her performances, but do you even understand them? You and she are from different worlds. Why must you hold each other back?" Emily, like a warrior, stood behind him, fighting against her parents and the whole world just to be with Lucas. But this did not lessen the coldness in Lucas's heart. Instead, it made him feel even more lost. Later, his older sister said that her parents' opposition was only about wanting more money, a house, a car, that sort of thing. His sister spoke disdainfully, but Lucas felt as if he had found a cure for his illness. He worked hard to earn money, buying Emily the most expensive gifts and the best presents for her parents. He gave the highest hourly rate, bought a house and a car for Emily's parents. His sister said he was sick, that he had gone mad, but Lucas was caught up in a frenzy. It seemed that only by doing all this could he prove himself worthy of Emily. But they didn't want the house or the car, and the dowry eventually returned to Emily. This made Lucas feel like a thief who had stolen a treasure. He wanted Emily to stay at home, to have a child with her. He hoped to prove with every means that Emily would not leave him. But Emily was like a free bird. She had her own world, and he couldn't enter it. He didn't understand Emily's analysis of every stage play, couldn't grasp the meaning behind her movements. When Emily eagerly asked him how the performance was, he could only dryly say it was beautiful. Each time, he felt like a sinner, publicly humiliated, awkward, and sad. Such days suffocated him. He felt he no longer had the strength to love Emily. Then he met Sophia. That day, his younger brother was getting married and wanted to borrow his car as the wedding car. Lucas agreed. His younger brother jokingly said, "We don't have enough people. Can you help drive the car to the flower shop?" Lucas had no choice but to agree. He drove the car to the designated flower shop, and the shop owner came out. It was Sophia. She recognized him first. "Lucas, it's me, Sophia." After realizing that the flower shop owner was Sophia, Lucas felt rather disinterested. But out of basic politeness, he responded to Sophia's conversation. She was very warm toward him. She said, "I heard from a friend that you're doing well now. I'm really envious of you. Unlike me, I graduated from high school and have been working, but all these years, I've only opened a small flower shop." Sophia's flattery was not lost on Lucas, but Lucas remained silent. At that time, he truly had no thoughts to share. However, after that, he began to frequently encounter Sophia. Her intentions were too obvious, yet her flattery, weakness, and adoration made Lucas fall into a perverse satisfaction. He said, "I have a wife." Sophia smiled seductively and said, "I know, Emily, but I don't mind. The unspoken rule among adults is that one glance can say it all. Not refusing means agreeing." Thus, Lucas and Sophia got entangled. Sophia would pamper him and support him. Through Sophia, he gained a confidence he had never had before. At first, he was afraid Emily would find out, but later he was able to navigate between the two women with ease. However, he didn't go all the way with Sophia. They would hold hands, hug, and kiss, but Lucas had never taken that final step. Sophia didn't care. She said, "With me, you can do whatever you want." Lucas deceived himself, thinking it's fine as long as Emily doesn't find out. "It's fine as long as I don't go all the way. Even if Emily finds out, it can still be salvaged." But when Emily did find out, Lucas realized that everything was over. Emily would not forgive him. He lost the girl he loved the most,